Ever watched Tarzan or The Jungle Book? Well, then you're probably familiar with the idea of animals raising human children. But what if we told you that it's not just a Disney fantasy tale? It might actually be more reality than fiction. Call them the children of the wild. From a woman raised by monkeys to a boy who grew up amongst wild animals, today, we'll take a look at 15 kids who were raised by animals. So, hold on to your seats, because it's going to be a wild ride. Number 15. Dina Sanichar. The story of this feral boy, well, you can say so, is pretty similar to the fictional character Mowgli. In February 1867, a group of hunters stumbled upon him in a cave in Bulandshahr, Uttar Pradesh, India. But Dina wasn't alone. He had some furry companions, wolves to be exact. He spent most of his childhood with them, learning to act, hunt, and survive just like they did. When Dina was brought to an orphanage, it didn't take long for people to realize he wasn't exactly human in the way they were used to. He preferred raw meat, walked on all fours, and couldn't speak, only making wolf-like sounds. The name Sanichar, meaning Saturday, was given to him after he arrived at the orphanage on a Saturday. There, the people take good care of him. But sadly, Dina never fully adjusted to human life. He spent 20 years among people but never learned to speak properly. He picked up a bad smoking habit and ultimately, he passed away from tuberculosis in 1895. While it wasn't exactly the Mowgli fairy tale, this story is as wild as it gets. Number 14. Marie-Angélique Memy Leblanc. If you think Dina's story was wild, wait till you hear about Marie. This one is truly one of a kind. Her trials and tribulations are unlike anything you'd see in movies, and what's even more special is her incredible recovery. Born in Canada, Marie was brought to France by ship, but she arrived in 1720, right in the middle of the devastating bubonic plague. Not only did she escape the plague, but she also had to survive the chaos that followed. Unlike Mowgli and his wolf pack, Marie didn't exactly fit in with the wolves of France's forests. She didn't live alongside them. Instead, she learned how to defend herself from them. With a club and a spear-like weapon, likely stolen, Marie fought to survive in a world that was far from kind. When she was eventually captured, she looked almost unrecognizable. Her skin was dark, her fingers and toes were clawed, and her body was covered in wild hair. Her eyes would often involuntarily dart around, a side effect of living in constant alertness for years. At just 9 years old, she disappeared. For 10 long years, she fought for her survival in the wild. But against all odds, she recovered. Marie even learned to read and write, something that was rare for feral children. Number 13. Vanya Yudin. The Russian bird boy, or should we say by his real name, Vanya Yudin, has a story you might not be prepared for. This boy couldn't speak to people, but he more than made up for it with his unique ability to communicate with birds. Growing up in Kirovsky, Russia, with his 31-year-old mother, Vanya was unable to talk to humans. Instead, he developed a strange connection with the birds around him. His mother claimed that every time she tried to speak to him, Vanya would respond by chirping. When she didn't understand, he would mimic bird-like gestures with his hands. This condition, which some call avian communication disorder, led Vanya to prefer the company of birds over humans. Despite never being physically abused or starved, his mother didn't speak to him, believing that communication with humans just wasn't possible. Finally, Vanya was taken to an asylum and later moved to a psychological care center. His weird condition remains one of the most perplexing cases of human-animal communication. Number 12. Ukrainian dog girl, Oksana Malaya. Oksana Malaya's story is one of survival, adaptation, and eventual recovery. Born in the small village of Novoblagoveshchensk in Ukraine, Oksana's early life was marred by neglect and abuse. At just 3 years old, her alcoholic father abandoned her, leaving her to fend for herself in the wilderness. She sought refuge among dogs, eventually living alongside them for several years. Over time, Oksana began to mimic their behavior, adopting dog-like habits. When social services found her, Oksana was almost entirely dog-like, barking, walking on all fours, and even taking care of her hygiene in ways that resembled canine behavior. She was taken to a foster home, where she underwent years of therapy. Remarkably, Oksana learned to speak and suppress her animal instincts. Later, she worked on a farm, milking cows. Her transformation from a feral child to a functioning member of society is a testament to human resilience and the power of rehabilitation. Number 11. Ugandan Monkey Boy. The story of John Shibuya, known as the Monkey Boy, is like something straight out of a Tarzan story. Orphaned during Uganda's brutal civil war when his father murdered his mother, John was left to survive in the wilderness. But he didn't just survive, he thrived. A family of baboons found him, and instead of turning him away, they took him in. They showed him how to climb trees, forage for food, and live as they did in the wild. For 3 years, John lived among the monkeys, learning their ways and adapting to their lifestyle. He communicated with them through gestures, slept on banana leaves, and even seemed to reject human food in favor of what the monkeys shared. It wasn't until a woman from a nearby village found him that he was brought back to human society. Well, it's pretty Tarzan-like, isn't it? But unlike Tarzan, well, John successfully managed to integrate back into human society and lead a happy, normal life. Number 10. Cambodian Jungle Girl. Imagine being lost in one of the wildest jungles on Earth for 18 years. That's exactly what happened to a young girl in Cambodia who went missing at the age of 8. She spent almost 2 decades surviving on her own, earning her the title of Jungle Woman. But she wasn't exactly Tarzan, swinging from vine to vine. Instead, she sneaked into nearby villages to scavenge for food, until a farmer spotted her. In 2007, this mysterious girl was found and brought in by a Cambodian family who mistook her for their missing daughter, Rosham Ping Jing, who had disappeared in 1989. After some investigation, it was confirmed she had been surviving in the jungle for nearly a decade. It's an unbelievable story of survival. But the reunion didn't last long. A man from Vietnam stepped forward, proving he was Rosham's real father. In the end, the girl was returned to her true family. Well, what a wild, heartbreaking journey, right? Number 9. Marina Chapman. What if we told you that one of the most extraordinary survival stories you'll ever hear involves a young girl raised by monkeys? Meet Marina Chapman, a woman who, as a child, was abducted and abandoned in the Colombian rainforest. At just 8 years old, she was kidnapped by a group of men, knocked unconscious, and left to fend for herself in the wild. What should have been a tragic ending turned into an incredible tale of survival. Luckily, Marina was found by a family of capuchin monkeys. They taught her how to climb trees, forage for food, and even how to heal herself. One of the monkeys helped her recover from a severe illness by guiding her to muddy water, which caused her to vomit out the poison that was making her sick. After being rescued years later, Marina went on to build a family of her own. Her resilience is nothing short of miraculous. Number 8. Peter the Wild Boy. Peter the Wild Boy is one of history's most intriguing enigmas. Found in the woods of Hertfordshire, England, by King George I and his hunting party, Peter wasn't your average boy. When he was discovered, he was walking on all fours, behaving more like an animal than a human. His strange, wild behavior led to him being nicknamed Peter the Wild Boy. Despite efforts to civilize him, including trying to teach him to speak, read, and write, Peter was never able to adapt to human society. The only words he could utter were his own name and King George, who had taken him in and treated him like a curiosity. In London, Peter became a sensation, attracting the attention of scientists and the public alike. Some historians believe Peter may have suffered from a rare genetic disorder called Pitt-Hopkins syndrome, which might explain his unusual behavior. His life remains a mystery, one that fascinates to this day. Number 7. Marcos Rodriguez Pantoja. Ever heard of the real-life Mowgli? Meet Marcos Rodriguez Pantoja, a boy who lived a life that could rival any jungle adventure story. Born in Spain, Marcos had a tough start. His mother died in childbirth, and his father remarried to a creepy woman who didn't treat him well. Eventually, he was sold as a slave to a goat herder, and after the herder died, Marcos was left alone in the wilderness. With only wolves for company, he adapted to their way of life. He lived like one of them for years, howling, scratching, and even biting like a wolf. When he was finally discovered by a civil guard, Marcos was almost entirely wolf in behavior. Transitioning back to society was a challenge. He struggled with human customs, but despite his rough start, he managed to learn how to speak, read, and even use utensils. His story is a testament to survival and adaptation in the wild. Number 6. Lobo, the wolf girl of Devil's River. The tale of the wolf girl of Devil's River is a chilling and mysterious story that could easily belong in a supernatural novel. After the tragic death of her parents, who perished in a lightning strike and childbirth, the girl was presumed dead, having been devoured by wolves. However, sightings of a naked, wild-haired girl moving with a pack of wolves began to surface. People in the village claimed to have seen her at least once, sparking a search that lasted for 3 days. When the girl was eventually found, she fought back ferociously, trying to escape back to the wolves. The villagers captured her and locked her in a room, but at night, her howls attracted the pack, and they would try to rescue her. Despite being kept in captivity, the girl's bond with the wolves remains strong, and her true fate remains a mystery to this day. Some believe she escaped back into the wild, never to be seen again. What do you think? Drop your comment below. Now, let's move to Number 5. Sujit Kumar. Sujit Kumar's story is one of the most tragic cases of child abuse ever recorded. Raised in Fiji under horrific conditions, Sujit's early life was filled with neglect and cruelty. At the age of 6, after the death of his parents, he was taken in by his grandfather, who locked him in a room with chickens. For years, Sujit lived among the animals, mimicking their behaviors. He would peck at his food and make chicken-like gestures, never learning to speak. Sujit's life was one of isolation and survival. His behavior was so animalistic that he was often treated like a wild child when he was discovered on the streets. At the age of 32, Sujit's life took a turn when he was rescued and taken to a care home. With the support of a woman named Elizabeth, Sujit began learning to act like a human being once again. His recovery, though slow, was a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. Number 4. Alex, the dog boy. Alex's story is one of the most astonishing cases of feral children. Abandoned as an infant, Alex found solace and survival with a pack of dogs. He was believed to have been raised by a female dog, suckled, and cared for by the pack. Despite his wild upbringing, Alex retained some semblance of humanity. When he was found, he could speak a little Spanish and even draw, skills that would have been impossible for a true feral child. Alex was found after attempting to escape authorities by swimming into the Pacific Ocean, hoping to dog paddle to safety. Rescued from the water, he was treated for hypothermia and severe malnutrition. After being placed in a welfare home, Alex slowly began to reintegrate into human society. However, his bond with the dogs remained strong, and he struggled to adapt to a world so far removed from his pack. Number 3. Tippy de Grey. Tippy de Grey's life story reads like a real-life George of the Jungle. While she didn't swing from vines or roar like the fictional character, Tippy shared an extraordinary connection with the animals of Africa. Raised in close contact with wildlife, she befriended a wide array of creatures, from elephants to snakes, crocodiles, and even leopards. Tippy's unique bond with these animals was more than just a fascination. It was a deep, symbiotic relationship. She would often be seen playing with ostriches, riding elephants, or even snuggling with crocodiles. But Tippy's life wasn't just about wild animals. She also formed strong friendships with local tribes, including the Bushmen and Himba people of Namibia. Her ability to bond with both humans and animals made her a truly remarkable individual, a real-life jungle girl with a heart of pure gold. Number 2. Ivan Mishikov. Ivan Mishikov's life began in tragedy. Born on May 6, 1992, in Russia, he endured severe abuse from a young age. His mother and her alcoholic boyfriend made his early years a nightmare, leading Ivan to run away at just 4 years old. Alone and vulnerable in the wilderness, Ivan stumbled upon a pack of stray dogs. Rather than attacking him, the dogs accepted him, likely due to his efforts to gain their trust by sharing the food he found. In time, the bond between Ivan and the pack grew strong, and he became an integral part of their group. The dogs protected him, and he even rose to a leadership position within the pack. Despite being captured by authorities multiple times, Ivan escaped each time with the help of his canine allies. It wasn't until 1998 that he was finally captured, but by then, Ivan had already adapted to living among humans again. Number 1. Sasha T. Sasha T's tragic childhood paints a disturbing picture of neglect. Living in Russia, he was locked away in a small room by his parents, who showed no interest in his well-being. Instead of a bed, Sasha slept on the cold floor, surrounded by goats. His parents never taught him to speak, read, or even how to care for his basic needs. Sasha's existence was marked by isolation, with the goats being his only companions. Without any human care, Sasha never learned basic social skills or hygiene. It wasn't until Child Services discovered his plight that he was rescued. Taken to a hospital, Sasha was treated for severe malnutrition, but the trauma of his early years left deep scars. Thanks for tuning in, and if you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe. We'll see you soon.